The Johnsky is a YouTube channel run by and run for people over the age of 13. People under the age of 13 should click off of this video right now, or watch with a parent or guardian. Viewer discretion is advised.
You don't scare me!
Milt is freaking 10 Englishman. My name is King Prime, and welcome back to another video here on the YouTube channel. Today we are finally going to be taking a look at a brand new Star Wars The Vintage Collection action figure. That being the Star Wars The Vintage Collection Star Wars Jedi Survivor Cal Kestis. Here we are with the card, and first off, we'll take a quick look at the artwork, which is a very nice, just a screen grab from the game. A nice green backing for the backdrop of the bubble. Of course, you have the lightsaber going on in the back there. The Jedi Survivor trades, as well as the counter trades down at the bottom. On the back of the card, we have some of the other figures that have come out recently, that being Vader, the definitive action figure, as I keep saying, Kenobi, the Klatooinian Raider, who I don't have and don't care to get, Luke, whose review is coming at some point, the Sartha, Artillery Stormtrooper, review coming soon, Cassian, of course, and Cal himself. At the bottom, we have the legal jargon that we are all so much accustomed to now, and that is basically it. Like I say in every single one of these reviews, you only really care about the cards if you are a carded collector, of which I am not. I'm here to open figures and review them. As you can see, I have already done that, and that's just what I'm going to do. Freeze frame. Freeze frame unfreeze, and here is the figure itself. And first off, I must say it just initially, this figure is awesome. But before we take a look at Cal, let's take a look at his accessories. Let me just pull his big iron from his hip, and let's take a look at that first. Let's take a look at his blaster pistol. Firstly, we have this nice little 6-shooter looking deal here. I'm not quite sure as to what this blaster model is. I've never played Jedi Survivor, considering it's not out, and blasters aren't in Fallen Order. So this is just a pistol of some sort. It looks like a revolver from a distance, although there is no cylinder, so I'm not quite sure. The handle is brown, which is nice, and there's nothing much more to it. Like I saw, or like I showed off earlier, of course you can store it on Cal's hip. It fits into the holster very nicely, as well as Cal can hold it. He has one trigger finger hand, which is his left hand, and he can hold it just like that, so he can shoot some fools. Next, we do have his unextended lightsaber hilt, which is very nice. It is done up in beautiful silver and like dark gunmetal gray paint, and it is just phenomenal. It is cast in a transclear blue, if you can tell by looking at the inside of the emitter, but you can, of course, store the saber on his hip as well, which is very nice. This is my favorite accessory with these vintage collection figures. I love having the option of an unextended lightsaber hilt, which is epic. I love having that there. Of course, that is just the single saber, which is the saber that is included. There's no double-bladed lightsaber or dual-wielding lightsabers or any kind of like Shoto blade like Ahsoka has. This is just the single saber, the single blue lightsaber. Of course, the hilt and the saber are the exact same size. Hasbro isn't that dumb that they wonk the scales up for that. And of course, Cal can hold his lightsaber in his hand, like so, which is excellent, as always. The final accessory that Cal comes with is, of course, BD1, everyone's favorite little adorable little baby that everyone loves and no one dislikes, because he's an adorable little baby. I love BD1 quite a bit. Getting up here close, looking at BD, he does have a single black lens for his eye. This one, it looks to be picked out in silver paint. It's very subtle, though. It's more of a pearlescent white than it is silver. On the back, you do have some detailing in gunmetal and black, as well as the red striping that we know about BD1. He's had it in the first game, he'll have it in the second as well, and some more gunmetal there. This, as you can see, it's been moving around. This does have articulation. BD's head is on a ball joint, which is excellent. Very good range of motion there. Very expressive. And his legs, which are on ball joints, as you can see. So you can get pretty good range of motion. Of course, it is quite a little hindered by his ginormous noggin, but they are, in fact, functional, which is great. It would be nice if there was a, knee joint here, if there was a two-jointed leg system, but I understand that they didn't do that because this would have greatly reduced the, workability of the articulation of this figure, or of this little accessory, and that's understandable. Unfortunately, though, there is no actual spot for BD to perch on Cal. He can't, rest on his shoulder or anything like that. He just kind of exists. What I usually do with this is I stick one of BD's feet in Cal's hand, and I just have Cal kind of nurse him like a child, which is funny. Cute, But that's that. And that's all the accessories. Now let's take a closer look at Cal himself. And Cal is a excellent representation of his appearance in Jedi Survivor. It is unfortunate that we haven't gotten the Jedi Fallen Order version of this figure, which is the one I would have preferred, honestly, because I, have played that game and haven't played the sequel. But it is a good representation thus far. Of course, he does have a very good likeness to Cameron Monaghan. This is, of course, using the photoreal technology that these new Hasbro figures use. He's wearing a sort of cream-colored long-sleeve shirt, which has been rolled up. There's some silver details on his sleeves, as well as a bracelet on his wrist, which he had in the first game as well, if I can remember that correctly. He's wearing sort of a vest, which unfortunately you can't remove, but there's a nice brown strap which goes around, and some weird padding on the shoulder. It looks very Star Wars-y, in my opinion. He's got two belts on with a silver buckle right here, and then he's got a gun belt on, which is very nice. There's some little, if this was a Western figure, I'd think these were bullets, but they're not. Star Wars. This is the belt in which he places his pistol, and that, of course, wraps around his thigh as well for some extra stability. Cal's got some pockets on his pants, which are molded in brown plastic. Some very nice gaiters, which is something I was very surprised to see, but these are army gaiters from World War II, which go all the way around his calves, and then just some brown loafers, which he's wearing. Tactical loafers, I'll call them. I think that's what we should dub that. The holster, of course, is made of a soft rubber, so that you can, slide the pistol in there, but the downside of that is that it kind of limits the articulation of the leg a little bit, whereas Cal's other leg can get all the way up and all the way out. This leg can't really do that. And of course, now that I'm showing it off, it makes me seem like a liar, but you can definitely feel the resistance, and it doesn't like to pose all that well when you're stressing the holster, which kind of sucks, but it's not really that bad. As for the articulation, we do, of course, have a dumbbell joint at the neck, which is kind of limited, though, because Cal does have a high neck joint here, so you can't really get an out of him. He just sort of has a very nice one-pointed ball joint so that he can get a nice wiggly-wobbly range of motion. He has a hinge joint at the shoulder, which can go out that far, and, of course, can spin 360 all the way around. He has a hinge at the elbow and a swivel there as well, which you can get, just about a 90-degree bend there. There's a nice cutout, though, for his sleeve, which is very nice, so that it doesn't, get caught or anything on the molding. His wrist is on a swivel, so you can get a swivel 360 degrees and a hinge downward. Same with the other wrist, which is perfectly fine, in my opinion, for these Jedi characters who are supposed to point lightsabers at people and stuff like that. So that's perfectly fine, in my opinion. He does have a rather low waist joint, as you can see. It's just a ball joint there just above his belt line. So you can get a pretty good but also limited range of motion because this vest is non-removable and also made of rubber. It's kind of limited, but it's not really that bad. Nothing at the waist proper. It just rotates at that ball joint I was just talking about. But the best part about this figure is, of course, the and mind the angle here, ball jointed hips that we are getting used to for these new Vintage Collection figures. Every single Star Wars Vintage Collection figure from this point on should have ball jointed hips. It's not even, it's a non-issue. It's just assumed. But of course, in another review, I'll talk about my distaste with why they haven't done that. There's, of course, an upper thigh swivel right there, and a bend at the knee, just about 90 degrees. At the ankle, Cal does have a hinge joint and a ankle pivot, so you can get some very nice posing out of that. So overall, the articulation of this figure is fantastic. But before I reveal too much of my thoughts about this figure, let's actually get into a freeze frame, and we can go to the size comparison. So freeze frame. Freeze frame on freeze, and here is Cal next to a custom Star Wars The Vintage Collection Mandalorian figure. Here he is next to Din Djarin, who's been customized just a little bit. And here he is next to the golden standard of action figures himself, the Dark Times Darth Vader, which is customized myself just to have a soft goods cape. There they all look together. That is a shot and a half, in my opinion. So as you can see, Vader still towers over everyone, as he rightfully should. But Cal is just about the same height as Mando and the other custom Mandalorian that I have. So that's how they look together. Let's get on to my final thoughts and tell you exactly what I feel about this figure. Freeze frame.
Hot diggity dog! This place is magnificent.
Freeze frame on freeze. So if it wasn't already apparent from what I've been saying throughout this entire review, I think that this figure is absolutely phenomenal. The only regret I really have about this figure is that we didn't get the Fallen Order version first, that we got the Jedi Survivor version instead, which is not a bad design by any means. It's just that the one I'm familiar with, we haven't gotten in plastic yet, which is disappointing to me. But this figure is awesome regardless. The sculpting on this figure is amazing. I love his gaiters. Just as a history buff, this makes me laugh. The subtle designs and the metallic detail on his belt buckles and his little greeblies that he has on his sleeves and on his belt are phenomenal. They just add so much to the design. I'm always a fan of when figures include the unextended hilt. It just makes for better display options. And it's very nostalgic for me as someone who grew up collecting Vintage Collection to see still going on. I absolutely love that. The articulation of this figure is not hindered whatsoever by any of the sculpting. I think it's a grand slam, and to boot, the paint detail on this figure and the sculpt on the face is accurate to a T. The only thing that I don't really like about it is the holster, and I think that this figure is just a little bit too bright. Maybe it could have used a wash or just a little bit of a desaturation slider to make it a little bit less bright. But other than that, this figure is absolutely perfect. It's definitely the best Jedi we've gotten as of late. And as some of you may know, we did just get a Luke Skywalker figure, and I'll be talking about him sometime soon, so stay tuned for that. I love this figure, and if you love this figure or you love Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor, Cal Kestis, Star Wars in general, make sure you share this video with all your friends, share it with Facebook groups, all that good stuff. If you like the content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe down below. It keeps the channel growing and it keeps helping me make these videos. That's going to be pretty much it for this review, my friends. Thank you all so very much for watching, and as always, peace.
Oh!